Good afternoon once again. Andrew here with South Appalachian Weather. Another briefing. I know we're doing a lot of these right now, but we've got more winter weather on the way overnight tonight. That'll be Friday night. It's Friday, January 16th, 2:15 p.m. Eastern Time when I'm recording this. Winter weather on the way, like I said, overnight tonight going into Saturday morning. And a little note of what's to come also Saturday going into Sunday. But first, let's take a look at what is heading our way. So, surface observations and radar imagery. Actually, right now, as of 2 p.m., you can already see the rain beginning to push in out of this next cold front over in far west Tennessee. Now, thankfully, after the about pretty much widespread 11 to 12 degrees Fahrenheit we had this morning, temperatures have moderated nicely up into the low to even upper 40s across our region. You can see out of Andrews and Blairsville there. And really that's pretty much across the whole southeast. Temperatures have come up a lot since this morning. That is going to play a bit of a role in what we're expecting overnight tonight. Now, looking at the surface analysis going into what is expected over the next couple of days, once again, another very complex system with a tri-point low, it's called. You can see that warm front moving across, that's the red line there, moving across Alabama into Georgia. And then the cold front, the blue line, moving across out of the Mississippi Valley, across the Tennessee Valley and our region, bringing rain and some snow and some freezing rain. We'll get to all three here in a second. All three of those moving through our area overnight tonight. And a chance of some snow to our east going Saturday night into Sunday. Right now, not really looking like a lot of impacts for us out of that particular system, but we'll keep an eye on it and throw up another briefing tomorrow if conditions warrant. Now, for the actual forecast itself and what we're expecting, as far as snowfall accumulation, total snowfall accumulation is really not looking that impressive out of this system, other than the far northern end of our region and the far eastern end. So we're talking, again, northern Cherokee County and eastern Clay counties in North Carolina. You can see a good bit of snow expected in the high terrain of Graham County up to our north, up around Robbinsville. And a dusting possible down around Brasstown Bald in Georgia, as well as that main ridge of the Appalachians, once again, that southern line of Fannin, Union, and Towns counties. But again, not really looking at a lot as far as our valley locations. For the most part, even in these high terrain areas, this is looking like mainly an inch or less, other than the highest peaks may see a couple of inches. So for the most part, this is thankfully going to stay away from mainly populated areas in our region. Again, Rainbow Springs, Topton, you're going to be seeing that possibility of some snow. We'll get to the ice possibility in a second as well. So there are going to be areas that have some population impacted by this, but for the most part, our major communities not really seeing a lot out of this system. Now, for the ice potential, this is ice accretion. This is something we don't really have a lot of here in our region, but out of this particular system, because of how it's going to work with cold air damming, that's something that we'll get into an education topic for the future. But for right now, just the main thing to know is because of cold air damming and the coldest air actually staying on the south side of that main ridge, that southern line of our area, there is a possibility that far southern Towns counties, Towns County over into Clay County. So basically we're looking at pretty much Tate City is really the only populated area that's going to be impacted by this, as well as Rainbow Springs, maybe a little bit of Topton as well up in Cherokee counties. But pretty much just that possibility of seeing some freezing rain. Reason for that, again, if you think back to how cold it was this morning, we were down to single digits actually in a few areas, especially that very high terrain up there. The rain that will be falling late tonight going into Saturday morning is going to have a possibility of freezing as soon as it hits the ground, because the ground will be colder than the air. So that's really what's going on there. Again, that cold air happening because of cold air damming too. But all of that to say, pretty much it's going to be a minimal impact to the bulk of our area, other than that possibility, again, of some snowfall in the high terrain to the north and east portions of our region, and that potential of a little bit of accumulated ice in areas where the conditions are just right for it. Now, bearing in mind how cold the ground is, though, it wouldn't surprise me if, in addition to what we've got forecasted here, we do see a little dusting of snow here and there in some areas that stay generally shaded. Again, those north-facing slopes, just like we looked at a couple of days ago. Now, to the impacts itself. We'll run through those same four categories: power, agriculture, recreation, and travel. Firstly, for power, we're really looking at minimal impacts. Outside of the areas expecting some possible snow and ice, really not expecting much in the way of power outages out of this event. For agriculture, actually looking fairly minimal as well. We're not going for that deep polar plunge like we did a couple days ago, back down into single digits. Temperatures will be relatively more moderate, with lows down into the mid-20s rather than down into the teens. So the wind chills won't be quite as bad. Again, just bear in mind for agriculture and for livestock, make sure they do have access to water. Maybe bring pets inside, check on their bedding after everything we've had the last few days, but really not looking at near as significant of impacts as we saw a couple days ago. For recreation, again, minimal. If you want to get out in the cold, be careful, stay safe, dress warm. Given what we're looking at, probably not a good idea to try to go head up on the Appalachian Trail. But like I said, overall, not really looking that bad as long as you're prepared for it and dressed appropriately for the conditions the next couple days. And then to travel. This is really where we'll see the biggest impacts. We're looking at, again, impacts possible heading over Franklin Mountain tomorrow morning, so Saturday morning, up through Topton. Again, keep Brady's Curve in particular in mind. Be real careful if you have to head through there pretty much anytime tomorrow. And then also down to our south, if you have to head over Blood Mountain or Unicoi Gap. So US 129 going south out of Union County, or Georgia 17 heading south out of Towns counties. Be careful down in there. You could also throw US 76 heading over towards Rayburn Gap. That's another one that might be a trouble spot there in the higher terrain. But other than that, like I said, not really looking too bad for a winter weather event. That is, unless you want to see a lot of snow accumulation, then of course, yeah, it's not really what any of us want. But again, that's pretty much what we're looking at here for this overnight into Saturday. Again, I'll be keeping a close eye on things. If conditions warrant, I may throw another one of these out tomorrow if it looks like we may have more impacts out of that Saturday night into Sunday morning scenario. Right now, not looking like a lot, but stay tuned to the latest from the Weather Service, the latest from our respective state DOTs. I do want to mention Polk County, Tennessee. I haven't forgotten about y'all. Just not a lot going on out of a lot of these systems, but we're still watching for y'all as well over there, Big Frog Mountain and Fannin County. Haven't forgotten about y'all. Just like I said, not a lot going on out of these. So stay warm, stay safe, stay tuned to the latest forecasts, and keep watching here for the latest over the next few days as well.